Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Shed Geek Podcast, and here in Southern Ohio. And I'll tell you what, we'll just go around the horn maybe a little bit, but Gerold, maybe we'll start with you. Just introduce yourself and maybe a little bit about your company and who you are.
Yes, I'm Gerold Miller and live here in Southern Ohio. And my life has been mini barns and retail furniture and helping my mom in a bakery years ago. And I guess been in this area for 40 years.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm today here in 2023. We're in Russellville, Ohio, the great town of Russellville. And we have a barn business here. We have some different dealers. We grew into our own rent-own company and our own coffee company. And now I have 3 boys that are helping me run it. So I'm very happy for that this morning.
And a great family. Gosh, just really, I appreciate getting to spend time with your family. And you guys are, I don't know, I'm almost a bit envious of kind of like that relationship, the camaraderie you guys have that comes natural, that so many families work for. But it's evident, for just so you know, from an outside perspective. So
well, thank you for that. And that is my heart. That's my desire. Of course, we like to make money.
Sure.
We love relationships.
How dare you?
how dare I say?
How dare you make money?
How dare I be that honest?
Yeah.
Well, I remember going to Zig Ziglar seminars years ago, and I remember him in person telling me that money ranks right up with oxygen. You can't do without it. And in life, we have to have it. It helped me to be a missionary in Kenya for 3 years. And our whole family left the company and went there. And it was a scary thought, because how could you leave a company in somebody else's hands and our farm and expect God to take care of all that? And you know what? We actually, I do believe, did better those years than we did when I was here.
How about that?
God showed me something very vividly of how he works and how he does things better than what we can do.
That's amazing.
And even had my farm, one of my Angus cows had twins that year. So I know God was blessing us with that, because we have twins in our family.
That's great.
So it was exciting to see how when we just trust on him, and even in this year of maybe barn sales a bit lower, customers are a little more hard to get. 2-3 years ago, we had about too many.
Yeah.
We had about 100 barns back ordered, and we couldn't keep up and couldn't get product. So that was a lot of anxiety in our manufacturers, in our deliveries, in our builders. And now we're kind of having stress going the other way because of not. So, but in all that, God takes care of it.
Still takes care. Gosh, what a testimony. I've been so looking forward to this conversation, and as we discussed last night, the conversation last night was really fun. Me and my wife were really blessed by that. And you guys, let's go around the horn a little bit. Steve, you want to, I don't know, introduce yourself. What do you do with Cricket Valley here? What's kind of your role?
Yeah, so appreciate that, Shannon. I'm Steve. Gerold's my dad here, and it's definitely been a journey in the shed industry. Basically, I started when I was about 16, and built for about 5 years. Then we went to Kenya, as he said, and were there for 3, came back, kind of dove back into it, and I enjoyed it. And now I've been doing sales in the office for about, I would say, 2.5 years approximately. So that's kind of what I do. I do the dispatch for our driver and do the shed sales and kind of things like that. And try to do the social media platforms and a little bit of advertising here and there, just kind of, try to do what I can. And that's what I enjoy. So that's kind of where
That's
I'm
great.
at.
What do you think? Is it kind of like your dad was saying there? It seems he's 100% on the mark there. Seems like a couple years ago, it's a hard time keeping inventory on the lot and finding labor to build sheds. It seemed like, and now next thing you know, we're seeing a bit of a lull maybe, and that seems to be what I hear consistently. As I travel around as well too. I mean, some companies are doing good because their business plan is still in growth mode as a young company and that. But generally speaking, I think most people are seeing a bit of a lull in sales.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say so. Not just from our experience, but from what I've heard from other people is right now it is a little bit slower than a couple years ago, which it's hard to compare.
It's
the
so
last
hard,
couple
yeah.
of years, but yeah, last couple of years it was crazy. In order to keep up production with the demand. But now I think for the southern Ohio area, I think it's a little slower right now. But yeah.
I love your shirt. For the viewers that can't see, it says Shed Relocation Engineer. I love it. Really good.
Thank you.
Wayne, a little bit about yourself and what you do here.
Yeah, so I'm Wayne Miller here. I am the youngest son of the three boys. Let's see, I think fit into the sales and marketing as well. But when the boot comes down to the concrete, I'm often maybe, doing a repo, fixing a shed, which doesn't happen often with ours,
There you go. I like it.
No, so yeah, basically, I guess you'd say a jack of all trades, if you can call yourself that, but do a little bit of everything in the company from, like I said, from repairs to sales to, just helping your everyday customer.
That's awesome. And Wayne has the coolest style, I have to say.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, man. He's got like the matching hat with the shirt, and he's always got like this cool looking hat on, man. He's like, yeah, I like it. I like your style, man, for sure. Looks really good.
I'm humble.
Yeah. And Stan, you want to kind of talk about a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Stanley Miller, and I'm one of the twins. Steve would be my twin brother. But, yeah, so it just worked out. Like my brother said, we went to Kenya for 3 years and came back and dove back into it. We built sheds. My twin brother and I worked in a bay by ourselves. We built sheds for 2 years, and then the opportunity came along. We had someone managing the rent-to-own company, and so the opportunity came along for the opening came for me to manage it, to take that over, bring everything in-house. So that's what I ended up doing. It worked out, and I definitely enjoy my job. It possibly might not be for everybody, but I definitely do something I got used to, something I enjoy, and that's what I'm doing right now is the rent-to-own side of things. So,
and Stan, you can't see it, has the coolest truck, I swear, in Southern Ohio. I absolutely love it.
hey, thank you.
Yeah, man.
You even got to take a ride in it.
I did. Very nice, man.
That
Very
might
cool.
be up for debate, but
yeah, certainly appreciate it. Yeah, getting to spend time with you guys and your family last night over dinner. We had some really, really great Mexican food. What was the name of the place that we went last night?
Mi Camino.
Yeah, and it's in I'm sorry, the city.
Mount Orb.
Mount Orb. Yeah, I for some reason I wanted to say Russellville, and I'm like, that's not right. Yeah, but so if you guys ever get to that part of Southern Ohio, you better give it a shout out, man, because it was wow, it was great food. But the company was even better, and I just was so looking forward to today. Stan, Country Classic Rentals is the rent to own company. Are you guys looking to expand any, or you're in Ohio, and I know that you guys are sort of vertically integrated with what you do with sheds. You kind of hold everything in house. I appreciate that so much because I know the difficulty of you're moving your own sheds, you're developing your own sales process, you're building process. You're, having to do ordering and procuring your materials. Then on top of that, you're dealing with customers, and all of that comes with returns and delinquency and all these other things. So to stay vertically integrated and do all that's pretty amazing. So are you guys looking to start to move out and start to take on other customers if someone's wanting to know more about your program?
Yes, absolutely. So as you already know, we have the facility here to do that. That was kind of one of the main reasons we got this facility, is to just, if there's any opportunities down the road to go more into management on the rent-to-own side of things, we would definitely welcome that. We don't have a large rent-to-own company, but it is ample size, I would say. But no, we're definitely thankful for every contract we get, and yeah.
That's great. So they, if someone's listening, I'm assuming probably the Ohio, maybe West Virginia, Kentucky, maybe touch parts of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so kind of the states that we're operating in is Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, and West Virginia.
Okay.
Would kind of be those states.
Yeah, very good. So if somebody's looking to talk to you about a rent-to-own program, they can reach out to you and give you a call. We'll get a plug in. We'll get some phone numbers in or something
he's
here.
already managing a company that he just started about a year ago.
Okay.
That we're managing for them.
Very
nice. A little bit different than just buying their contracts. You're actually managing their company.
Sure.
They're not doing anything other than just supplying us the contracts. So you're already doing that with the company. And we're looking to take that, challenge that even more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you want to continue to grow, and it sounds like you're fitting into the rent-to-own space quite comfortably. So I love that, and love to hear your thoughts on some of the rent-to-own stuff. We'll definitely go around the horn a little bit more on that. Gerold, outside of everything going on, shed companies, well, first, I'll tell you what, let me start here. I keep seeing the shirt, and I want to get the story for Cricket Valley Structures. And I'm a little curious about sort of what led you down this path and how we got to Cricket Valley and the name.
Cricket Valley, wow. You know, the thing is, and I'm not saying this in a proudful, boastful way at all, but in the shed business, I've been in this business for selling buildings and manufacturing and delivering and rent-to-own in probably 30 years. But I always either just sold buildings or manufactured buildings.
Are you a shed manufacturer, dealer, or hauler looking for a trusted resource to build or upgrade your website? Do you need a simple business website or a more robust and dynamic e-commerce site? Are you looking for an affordable option with digital marketing solutions for your small business? Are you looking for paid ads using Google search engines or social media platforms to reach a new audience? If you answered yes to any of these questions, it's time to check out Troyer Websites of Texas. Did you know that 46% of the 5.6 billion searches made each day are for local businesses? At Troyer's, our SEO strategies will help you get on the first page of search results for your shed business. At Troyer Websites of Texas, you will be sure to get 5-star customer service with proficiency and skill. Troyer Websites just launched their managed digital services to incorporate all your marketing needs into a single dashboard. Here at the Shed Geek Podcast, we trusted the team at Troyer Websites of Texas to develop our website, and we couldn't be happier with the results. To know more or schedule a discovery call, simply contact the Shed Geek at 618-309-3648 or email info@shedgeek.com.
Today, I believe that Cricket Valley is unique. I'll get to your question.
Sure.
It just takes me a little time.
That's all right. I get that. I get that more than you know, I promise.
You know, I looked at back the previous companies was on Wheat Ridge Millers and Wheat Ridge Barns. And there again, I just was a manufacturer. I had a delivery system, and I had another rent-to-own company running and all that. And that's how we started out in Cricket back in 2009. But my goal always was, of course, to manage everything, to have our manufacturing, have our own sales lot, and then also have our own delivery We have a Cricket Valley Trucking Company that we have 2 trucks, and Steve didn't mention that his latest adventure was getting his CDL. So
Nice.
now he's a lot more valuable to the office and staff company is to jump in a CDL truck and haul barns. But then to have that, and then we also have our own build on site crew that goes out with a truck and a trailer when we can't get to their backyard or in their pool area, whatever. We actually build them on site. We have a crew that just does that. And then now we're into rent to own. So we're excited about that, but I'm a miller. We're millers, and people sometimes get us confused with how I could be a miller, but I'm Cricket Valley, have a cricket shirt on. And I know I laugh at this, but I usually tell people that I was there and I'm at Cricket now. Does that tell you, do I need to tell you more? And it's a joke, but they make a good building. I really like millers, and we have a good relationship with all of them.
Sure.
That's not my goal, is to have a competitive spirit, but they do their quality buildings. We have ours.
And you're just going to compete naturally. I mean, those things happen whenever you...
Well, we can't... If a customer comes on our lot and wants a cricket barn, we don't usually encourage them to go to Miller's.
Right.
But, so I was a miller, have been all my life, still am a miller, but when I came, we left the Amish world in 2005, and during that time I had left Miller's and left that company and came to Brown County in Russellville. And so the opportunity came up, this Cricket Valley Structures came up for sale. It started in 2004. And it was called Cricket Valley Structures. And people to this day say they're still looking for the cricket. And the people that had started it before were Weaver Barnes' brother, Paul Weaver, him and his family, which he's now my son-in-law in Virginia, but he worked for us and but they had sold that company. And they had, in Holmes County, they had a cabin rental called Cricket Hill Cabins. So when they came to Southern Ohio, they decided to have Cricket Valley Structures.
Okay.
So that's where the cricket comes in. Would I have named it that? Probably not, but we're people know us as a Cricket Valley now. So.
It's very catchy. I mean, the branding wise, it's a name that you don't soon forget. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely unique, and
we sometimes do get people calling us for a phone. They need a cricket phone.
Oh, okay.
But other than that, I think
interesting.
I think we're
Free Shed with all your phone plans there. So,
but that's how cricket.
Yeah,
that's
appreciate it. I like it. There you go.
That's where cricket.
you do get those calls. You're right.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So that's an exciting adventure, Steve, right? Like getting your CDL, becoming sort of like that adds to the vertical integration of your company, in that you can go out and get a return if you need to make that happen, and make it happen quickly, because sometimes that is a reality, depending on the situation.
And
of the
sometimes
customer.
he's in the office and the trucks are loaded and busy, and there's a customer just needs one before sundown, and he can jump in there, or he's supposed to. I don't know if he always does, but he can jump in there, that truck, and get it done for him. So
What a great selling.
So he's going to
Boy.
get a raise. I told him when he gets his CDL.
There you
He
go.
didn't get it yet, but it's on the way.
There you go. He's smiling about that. He's like, yeah,
I heard that.
that's good news. He said, that's recorded. That's recorded. So I've got something to point to whenever that day comes.
Right.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then, Wayne, like, what do you think? I want to talk maybe the process of, being utility. Whenever I hear you talk, I hear you talk a lot about basically a utility position. One of my favorite baseball players of all time was Jose Oquendo for the St. Louis Cardinals, and they could put the guy anywhere. They could put him on third base or shortstop or second. They had him pitch a couple times. He was a catcher. He played the outfield. Jack of all trades. That's what's the saying? Jack of all trades, master of none. You begin to get good at all things. What's your favorite thing to do of all of those? I'm assuming that you probably deal with customers quite often, especially if you go out to, if you do have to do the occasional repair, if you have to go out on a pickup. What's kind of your experience being the younger brother, watching this thing play out?
Yeah, so I don't know. I threw the jack of all trades in there. It sort of slipped out. Now, you talked about baseball. I don't know how I do. I probably wouldn't get past first base without being gassed or something.
Yeah.
But no, I think my favorite, really, I just enjoy being able to do a delivery, coming back, jumping out of the truck, helping a customer. It opens your mind in so many different ways. Now, saying I'm maybe good at everything, no, I don't think that's, realistic, but we try to do our absolute best, obviously, at what we do, and try to, I guess, just think what's better for the company, which areas you can cut down or help or, improve.
Well, take it or leave it, man. I think you're really well spoken, and I could see where you would excel in the sales process, because you just generate really quickly with people. And just a side note and just a piece of advice from me, man, I really think you connect with people well.
Thank you.
I noticed that yesterday. You approached us on the sales lot immediately, right? So
I believe so.
We started talking, and I think that you have a aura about you that kind of just brings people in, man. And
thank you. I'm humbled.
I think you do. I think you do good with sales. Stan, let's talk about Millers. Let's talk about, like, if you didn't have enough going on, Gerold, right? We decide rent to own. We got, this shed business been hanging around for 30 years or whatever. And I don't know, let's start a coffee company, because outside of having so much going on with your mission work in Kenya and everything else, let's start a coffee company. So what's kind of the thought behind that, Stan? You want to kind of fill me in a little bit? I'm picking on you because you got the shirt on. That's why I went that route. And we got the logo on the back here. So for anybody who's viewing this on YouTube, you should check it out. But tell me kind of your thoughts on, like, why this came to be.
Yeah. So, we have been growing the rent-to-own company, year by year. And so at first that wasn't enough to keep me busy. So we were always looking for ways to stay busy and to, make money and all that good stuff. So was it a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, we started the coffee company. We just started small. We started as roasters. So I roast all the coffee, and I really enjoy that. We have a Dietrich IR 2.5 roaster that we're using. We started off in our garage, and now since then we've moved to a storage shed. So
how ironic, right?
Right.
Where'd you find one of those? Do you guys get a Miller shed?
Yeah, we had to go to Miller's.
Is that where
I'm roasting in there currently, and I will tell you that my dad and I, so I didn't get any special training or schooling on the roasting, so it was kind of a learning process. Mm-hmm. So guess what? Me and my dad, we thoroughly burned the first batch.
Caffeine high.
So,
Man, he's being honest now.
so we learned from that onward, and basically we do medium roast across the board. And we expanded. A while later, we decided to go the coffee trailer route. So my brother Steve and I went together in shares with my dad with the coffee trailer. And that's kind of what we're doing right now as well. But as far as how it started, so like we mentioned before, we were in Kenya for 3 years, in Kisumu, Kenya. And we found a coffee mill called Kipkilian Coffee, a co-op in Kenya. And they gave us some of their coffee. It was called the Kenyan AA. And we the first day we went home, tried some, we were hooked. I mean, I've never tasted better coffee than that. And really liked it. So we kept going back and drinking their coffee. And we started doing some research. And we currently we're selling whole bean and ground coffee, Kenyan AA, Colombian, and Nicaraguan. And we really love it. We love what we do. But kind of the idea behind it, our heart, was to share this good quality coffee that we found, to share it when we come back from Kenya, to share it with the American people, with our friends, with our family. And so that was our heart behind it. We thought the coffee was good enough not to share. So it's still a small business, but it grows every day, and it's amazing to see the fruits of your labor. You get, what you see is what you get, and if you put the amount of work you put into it, it's all up to you as far as making it productive and fruitful. And we've just been trying little by little to grow it, and kind of where it's at for us right now is the wholesaling. We have 4 wholesalers. We have one in Kentucky that sell our coffee, and we're just thankful for the coffee industry, and we try to learn all we can.
Hey guys, this is the Shed Geek, and I'm here to tell you about the latest in financial innovation to hit the shed industry. It's a program called Backyard Finance. Everywhere I go, shed manufacturers and shed sellers are always asking, how can I get a better payment option for my customer? At Backyard Finance, they're making this a reality. You might be asking, how do I sign up? Simple, just go to Backyard Finance, click on the Get Started Now button, and create an account. After that, you'll have 200 plus banks competing to give your customer the best financial terms possible. With Backyard Finance, you can service your customers 2 ways, direct to customer lending or direct to merchant lending. With direct to merchant lending, simply fill out an application. It takes about 2 to 4 weeks to process that application, but it'll allow you a variety of financing options to make you a more competitive retailer. With FICO scores as low as 500, 600, or 700 plus, your customers will receive financing options with APRs as low as 2.99% or as high as 29.99%. Credit applications are approved in just 15 to 45 seconds. To know more, contact Backyard Finance at 833-692-2286 or email info@backyardfinance.com today. Backyard Finance, funding backyard dreams.
Well, it's very nice. I know you guys are licensed in a couple of states, and we were talking over dinner last night, and I'm like, man, you guys got to get that coffee truck to some of these shed events. You guys are close enough to Cliff Knapp and the guys over in Southern Indiana whenever they do their annual shed get-together, their hauler event. Be really cool. I know a lot of times maybe they have those spaces filled. I don't know. It could be speaking out of place, but I'll try to connect the two of you guys because some of these shed events that happen around the country, a lot of times they'll have coffee and donuts and, just different things and stuff like that. So when you got the truck, you might as well get it out there in front of people, I guess, right? That's probably what you're going for. But yeah, we'll try to make some connections. But the coffee's good. We've got a nice warm brew of coffee this morning, and we appreciate that. We've even got like the little grinder here in front of us here. But yeah, cool stuff. And one thing I find about the shed industry that seems to be constantly unique is there's some similar likenesses in certain things. I know you guys are going to say, where are you going with this? But there's so many pilots in the shed industry. There's so many guys I know that love to fly. Coffee always seems to be like highly, like there's like baristas in this industry. I mean, they really like connoisseurs of their coffee, like really enjoy it. And I thought, wow, we didn't realize how much we didn't know until we got around people who began to explain things to us. And another Miller, Dave Miller, at Smart Pay, I remember I used to always tease him all the time about how just passionate he was about his coffee, and it seems to be a common thing. And then hunting is always present in the shed industry. So a couple of those things always seem to meet the rubber meets the road there. I don't know what it is. It must be something in our blood, I guess, in the shed industry. But it's Miller's Coffee Company. And for anybody who wants to know more about it, I'm sure they can give you guys a call. And so the website is millerscoffeecompany.com. We have a website where you can go and order coffee online, ground or whole bean. And we have
anywhere from 5-pound bags that we sell to half-pound bags. So if you just want a sample, just give me a call and or reach out to me online, and we can get you taken care of. Also, my email is stan@millerscoffeecompany.com, where you can reach out to me if you have any inquiries.
And perfect.
Can I add something to
Yeah,
that?
absolutely.
The vision that Stan shared, I like that. I like that, your heart behind that. And I remember being in Kenya. I was supposed to be a pastor there, and I sometimes strayed a little bit to coffee shops. And I remember being the chairman at the school, and I took the school children on a trip, and it ended up being there, and they all got a coffee tree, and these guys just really impressed me, and they just begged me. They had 2,000 farmers, small farmers, maybe had 2 trees to 20 trees, but they bring them in there, and they were looking for a marketing person in America, and that AA Kenya is a lot what Starbucks uses. They have a contract with Kenya.
Okay.
So it's their best. And so when we got there, these people we met that were working these co-ops, they were literally making $2 a day. That was their pay, $2 to $3. And they begged me, could you take this coffee to America where you can pay $3 a cup is what we make a day working. And
That's powerful.
a vision was born in us Millers then, and we went home, started with an old popcorn popper that the fuse kept blowing. I paid my neighbor boy money to hotwire that thing. Probably should have burned our house down. But we did that, and then we got to a smaller roaster. Now today we're at this 2.5 pound. They're made out in Idaho, I believe, American made.
5 pounds.
5 pound, 2.5 kilo. And so that was our heart behind coffee, was to bring it, and it still is. Next week we're going to Louisville to a coffee fest, Stan and I and my wife. So we love coffee. We love to learn all about coffee. So it's just exciting. Plus we like coffee.
Here, let's see if I can get this in. You won't be able to hear this, Gerold, without the, let's see, I think we mentioned Starbucks. Was it? There we go. Miller's Coffee Company.
There you go.
There we go.
Attaboy.
Yeah, there. Figured we'd get that little hook in for you. Sorry, Starbucks, don't sue me. We're just having fun. Yeah. So your heart behind all that, and Gerold, that's where I wanted to go next. So it's a perfect segue. Where that coffee vision started, but you have a daughter in Kenya, and you're kind of telling me about how they do like a YouTube channel over kind of talking about the culture of what it's like to live in and have a pretty good subscriber account on YouTube, like over 50,000 people. So they watch this channel regularly. What does I hear Kenya brought up in you guys' conversation quite often? What does it mean to you, and what does that type of mission work? What has that kind of been for you?
It was really a learning experience. I always had this vision of being a missionary, but I always thought I was a missionary. I remember I was delivering. I think Wayne was going with me, and I had one of those old half semi-internationals and driving down the road with about 4 buildings on a long trailer. I was living the American dream, and I thought I was a missionary because I would talk to people about the Lord, and I was just doing what I was supposed to do. And I get this call from this guy wanting to know if I'd consider going to Africa. And then I met another barn dealer in Tennessee, and he was over there, and he called me. He said, "Gerold, you just need to think about what the Lord wants you to be doing." And I said, "I think I'm doing what I'm supposed to do." But it seemed like the Lord called us to go, and it was very obvious. We had people that took over the company, took over our farm, and to go there, it was some people would say we lost a daughter, but I believe we gained a son. And we're all family. And to go to Africa, of all places, I didn't want to go. I fought it terribly. I needed to be here, and our children fought it. But it took us a while. I had to work on getting my GED and to get a job in Africa. Imagine that. So it was an experience for all of us, but I don't think we would trade that. I hear that coming up in my sons, and it blesses my heart. That was a mission. That's all we did. We worked with people, worked with relationships. The people in America, it was AMA Missions, is Amish Mennonite Aid, is who supported us, who sponsored us to go there. So they paid our way, there and back. And meeting those people and experiencing people dying, people being born again, people being born physically, people dying and people getting married, we were helping with all of that. And in each family's lives and in their living room and in their little mud hut kitchen. And now my daughter's over there taking videos of a lot of that stuff. So if Sylvan Corey Bachunga is their YouTube, and I think they're doing a great work there, and so I believe that legacy can continue, and we're looking forward to seeing them this summer. So if we look back at those 3 years, now my boys always said that they want to be like other boys. They want to have nice trucks and nice girlfriends and whatever all they want, whatever boys want. I don't. Maybe
I think you hit the top two.
The top two. Well, they started out with go-karts and then four-wheelers and horses and ponies. But
funny how girls seem to
they kind of
take the spot.
They don't really want to talk about that. Yeah. But I think today, honestly, we look at all the visitors we had, people that came to visit us 10,000 miles away in another country, in another culture. Our family, church family, came to visit us. And it was just flat a blessing. And I know the boys naturally didn't have quite the vision that maybe my wife and I had, but I think they're with us today. I think they would love to go back again and to visit for sure and even work with that. But it was an experience.
Totally different life, totally different culture. I don't know. Maybe you guys can take the shed business to that other world or something. Who knows what's going to happen?
Well, I remember we did a lot of funerals. Instead of going to auctions, we went to funerals. And every Saturday there was a funeral, seriously. And I remember Wayne would go with me, and we would haul those people on top of our van, the dead person, and people jumping and yelling and shouting.
Singing all the way.
And it was just, sometimes tears would trickle down our eyes, cheeks, to see these people dying and suffering, malaria, AIDS. It was just a plague that they had. And then to think, I told Wayne, I remember telling him they were in there beating drums, and we couldn't even hear each other talking. I remember I yelled out at him, I said, remember when we were hauling barns? We were in hog heaven, we thought. Now we're in Africa hauling dead people. But it was just such a different, I actually enjoyed helping out. Because when you're American and you can be able to help those people and get to their level, we didn't try to make them Amish or Mennonite, all right? That wasn't my heart, but to just spread the good news to the lost and dying world in Kenya. And, it's a 3 years that I would encourage anybody to do if they could.
Man, what a great story. I tend to get lost in those moments like that because they're so real. So it's like you can feel, I can live vicariously through your process. I can feel your passion for it and how it, and I always say, it doesn't matter where God wants me, whether it's, on a podcast in the shed industry, whether it's, who knows? I mean, it's his life when you submit your life to that. It's his money. It's his, so it's his time. So you're really just a steward, and you can choose what steward you want to be of that. You want to be a good steward of those avenues he gives you, or a bad steward of those things.
Please let me make it clear. You don't have to go to Africa to be a missionary. Yeah. We can do it right here. And sure. I agree with that. I always didn't like when missionaries would come back and say, that's really what you need to do in life, and maybe it is for some people. Some people, they have a mission to do another thing. Maybe running a podcast is a mission. And I think that's a great mission you're doing.
Well, I'll tell you, it's been, We talked last night, the word says obedience is greater than sacrifice. And I've had to wonder at times, like, hey, will it make it? How's it going to make it? What's it going to look like? What will the next step be? You try to plan for 2 years or 3 years or 4, and the next thing you know, all your plans get changed. And so the only thing is the way I kind of liken it is that, oftentimes God will give you a breadcrumb, and that breadcrumb's a piece of faith in your life that you have to follow, and you have to go pick up that crumb and say, okay, where's the next crumb? where's the next step? I followed you here, but I didn't know what was to be expected beyond it. So it's just going after one crumb after another until eventually you start to feel like you get settled and you build on a good foundation. And I love building relationships. I love interviewing people. I love spending time with families like yourself, like I did last night. I enjoy those things, and some people say that's work, and I say no, it's not difficult at all. I genuinely enjoy it.
Do you get paid to build relationships?
I don't. I don't, but I'll tell you what I think they do is I think they hold some trust, and then it gives you opportunity to build revenue through those relationships is what I think happens. And I'm in sales too, right? So I sell advertising. So that's always, I deal with the same thing that a shed seller deals with.
Managing your rent-to-own contracts just got easier with RTO Smart. Designed by leaders in the rent-to-own storage industry, RTO Smart was handcrafted to enable you with the tools needed to manage your own contracts your way without using a third-party rent-to-own company. RTO Smart is your one-stop shop, allowing you to generate contracts and manage customer accounts from start to finish while maintaining simplicity and flexibility. Call us today at 316-618-9396 or visit our website at rtosmart.com to schedule a live demo and discover why RTO Smart may be right for your business.
I sold sheds for years, but I deal with the same thing. I deal with the emotion of things are up, things are down, trying to prove marketing strategies and measurements of effectiveness and all of these different things and, competition and just, all of that. So you deal with the same stuff, but iron sharpens iron. So that's where building relationship matters. I got the Nelson's Buildings episode come out this morning, right? So this is Thursday morning. It came out. Got a message of encouragement from Tristan. Those are the things that matter the most to me is when someone can send me a message of encouragement when you're trying to make sure it works and figure it out. And I would imagine in the mission field, it's got to be sort of the same thing. For me, faith-based drug and alcohol rehabilitation has always kind of been a thing, the way it plagues our country. Prison ministry, Hebrews 13:3 says, be with those in prison as though you're in prison yourself, and my father-in-law worked in the prison. My brother-in-law works in the prison. Everybody I knew worked sort of in that field. And I sort of wanted to go down that route and saw it more as a business. And I believe in rehabilitation over retribution. I believe that, when God changed my heart, it was like, man, there's 600,000 people getting released from prison every year. And I'm thinking to myself, why are we not trying to connect with those people? Why are we not trying to connect or give the gospel to those people? Why do we say lock them up and throw away the key? Because I don't believe that, and I'm glad God didn't lock me up and throw away the key. So they're not everybody's cup of tea, and it's a hard mission to be involved in. But that's kind of one that God set me on as well too. So I don't know. I keep trying to figure out how that's going to play into my life again, and we'll see. But I appreciate you guys, man, and certainly what you guys do. So I'm not sure if we've talked sheds yet. Let's talk sheds. Let's maybe get in that conversation. What do you think the shed industry, Steve? What do you think it's going to do? You have to be conscientious of that. You're selling sheds. You're moving sheds around. You are the shed relocation engineer after all. Where do you think it's going? Where do you think we saw COVID, but what about now?
Yeah, that's a good question. Obviously right now things are a little slow, but I think, it's been steady. That's something that we've been thankful for, is it's been steady. Our dealers, the 5-6 different lots that we have, they keep going, and we've noticed a really big difference in location. Like for Southern Ohio, it might be a little slow, but maybe for Northern Ohio, they might be totally fine. Or, Northern Kentucky, they might be totally slammed. And so that's been something we've been noticing a lot with location. And I do haul sheds somewhat. I kind of get to do the repos. So Wayne here and I, we help each other, and probably have one we should get here locally probably this week. But the local repos are the toughest because they're most times they're people we know, and it's tough. But it's the part of the job that's probably the ugliest in the shed industry, but it has to be done. And so I try to do what has to be done. But with it being a little slower, I get to, initially my training to haul sheds, I needed some training, so this was a perfect time. But initially when I went to get my CDL, it was because we were so busy we couldn't keep up. So that kind of morphed into what it is today. But and at the same time, we were thinking, how do we, with it being a little slower, how do we get that sale? How do we, follow up with these leads? And people, with shed companies being on almost every corner anymore, it's like, how do you stand out from everybody else? What is your selling point? How, like I said earlier, how do you clinch that sale? Because, like we talked about last night, everybody's focused on, what do they need to do to make that sale? And so that's what we were thinking about. And so Dad here was like, well, let's go to a business conference. That's something we had never done before. Let's do that. And, he wanted to expose us to positivity, to motivation. So that's what we did. We actually went to one of Dave Kaufman's business conferences. It's called EdgeCon. Went to EdgeCon in Nashville, Tennessee, and it was a 2-day thing. And there he had speakers like Alicia West, Jim Cathcart, Omar Peru, Lou Stewart, motivational speakers like that. So we just went down, had a good time about how to close the sale, how to. I think that was a big part that they taught, was it being about relationships. You have to have a relationship with your workers, and then just even the communication process. If I tell my brother to do something, and then by the time it gets to the person I want to have do the job, and it goes through several people, it can often morph into something totally different from what I told them.
Yes.
So that's something that we learned there as well. And just being motivated, I think Jim Cathcart, he said that if you want to grow your company, you don't grow your company, you grow your people, you grow your customers, because your customers in turn will grow your company. And like Zig Ziglar said, if you help enough other people get what they want,
you can have anything you want. Yeah.
So,
yeah, I would love to do, eventually I want to do, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the make a peanut butter sandwich exercise in communication. Have you ever seen that, where you take a loaf of bread, a knife, and peanut butter and jelly, and you put that out in front of everyone, and you ask them to make a sandwich, and you ask them to give you the instructions. So you have it in front of you, and you do word for word what they say, because it shows the lapse in understanding when someone's trying to communicate, how words get in the way of communication, how body language gets in the way of communication. So they'll say, well, grab the knife and put some peanut butter on it. So you might grab the knife and take the can of peanut butter and set it on the knife. And they'll say, no. You got to dip you got to put the knife in the peanut butter. And it's like, oh, well, you didn't say that. So they'll be like, try to put it in there and the lid's on. It's like, well, you got to take the lid off. And it's like, well, you didn't tell me I had to take the lid off. It's like, well, it should be assumed that you know how to take the lid off. And it's like, and this is how communication happens in real life, isn't it?
Right.
In the shed world, it's like, oh, I just knew that you just knew that. You should assume to know that. They take it off and they stick the knife in the peanut butter. And they're like, no, you got to scoop it. So it's really a hardcore like exercise in practicing very effective communication, because I like to say the longest journey in our existence is what's in my heart to my mouth to your ears and to your heart or to your brain, whatever I'm trying to reach, I guess. That's the longest distance in the world, because there's so many assumptions made in between communication in business. I want to do an episode on communication at some point. I really think it would be extremely valuable. Wayne, if you're doing a pickup, Steve touched on something. It's difficult sometimes. Mm-hmm. It's difficult, especially with a local pickup. You are, and the shed haulers out there are the last person to see the customer when you deliver a shed. They're that final touch point of communication. They're that final touch point of customer service. And then they may also be the first face seen when you come back out for a recovery, whether it's voluntary or involuntary recovery. How important is that in the process? You get to see a lot of different parts of the shed world. How important is that part? I mean, and how do you overcome something like that? I wanted to make sure to touch on that, because he said, hey, we might have to go pick that up, and that's difficult. It's part of the job, but it's difficult. What's your approach?
Right. So I appreciate the question. It's a very deep question at that. But yeah, to sum it up, you have to be very careful. First of all, you talk to the customer, you try to reason like, two adults, and you try to work it out. First of all, you have to come across as humble and very like, I'm here to help you. I'm not here to take your stuff, and because it can come across like that to them. So I usually try to deal with the customer, have the paperwork. Here's what we're going to do today. And in return, most of them are nice people, and usually you can talk them down. There is occasionally one or two per year that it goes how it does. And then, we don't try to do it that way as far as, with the local people. Usually we can work out a strategy from there. But yeah, I'm not sure if I answered your question or not on that.
No, absolutely.
But yeah, it's a little complicated sometimes, and but it's something that takes a little bit of experience. Maybe Dad knows a little bit about the repos there, how we used to haul them with our shirt outs, and the people would go run.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, Wayne, you had that's good how you explained that. But I always try to teach. I used to do that myself, so I already know how that is to send somebody out. Mm-hmm. And what is really neat, and again, having your own rent-own company. We could tell you a lot of stories. I don't know. I think we're about running out of time, but Stan is knowing that customer, knows how many grandfathers that died already and how many grandchildren that...
how many hospital visits they had that
they're probably
that
been
week.
in the hospital. So he knows these stories. And as the owner, bottom line, end of the day, he can make a decision that I think lately we had a lady that died. Well, they had a family settlement, and the building they were trying to split in 3 different ways, and the product inside the building. So that was very, very difficult. But still knowing that when I send them out, that we try to have Christ behind it. We're not there to take, send us some money, and usually they will understand. I remember, I think I did that for 2 years. Never really had a bad experience. I never seen it where sometimes you have to know a way, and I think Wayne is maybe good at that in de-escalating a little bit of chaos, because most times it's the neighbors and the family, and I told you shouldn't have that barn to start with, and they start that, and he'll just know how to de-escalate it, and I think that's really important. And knowing that we're not here to take your bill. Actually, I remember when I used to drive, I would tell them, I'm just here, I'm just the driver. Don't make me take your building, just give me some money. And many times they would reach somewhere down in and get $150. At that time, we were working with another rent-owned company. They wanted the building or $800. Today, when we have our own rent-owned company, we do have a little bit bigger heart. If you have $50, we don't advertise this, but we've had people paying $50 a month. They hardly ever get ahead, but that's literally all they could afford. And we have that opportunity to allow that.
Right. We try to work with our customers.
Yeah.
We even, if there's a customer, basically, we're a small enough company to where I can build a relationship with that customer over the phone. Yeah. And the vital important thing is, so I get a customer calling in, say a mad customer. I get that very rarely. But if there's ever an upset customer that calls in, the first thing that I do is I've got to defuse that customer. I've got to de-escalate the situation. Right. And by doing that, if I can make the customer believe that I'm on his side, we're not here for the shed. We're not here for your stuff. Sorry. It's just that we need to work something out. The customer totally understands that. Sure, and that is definitely very vital. Make the customer believe you're on his side, and the guards and the walls will go down.
And that's another reason it's called Country Classic Rentals instead of Cricket. So a lot of people don't associate that together. So Stan is actually with Country Classic Rentals. He's with a different company, which legally he is. And so it really works out great.
I love that's what vertical integration allows. Time goes by really quick when we sit and talk on these, but I have a couple of questions that I just want to ask before we get off of here. Gerold, I know that you went through really and I didn't ask your permission to say this, so I hope this is okay, but you really went through a pretty traumatic experience with COVID. You guys were telling me about this last night.
Yeah, that was back in October of 2020. Yeah, I'll actually be sharing that story at a church in Virginia this weekend. And I have a slideshow. I went through a really out-of-body experience type thing. And it was I was 5 weeks in the hospital in Cincinnati, Claremont Mercy. It was 21 days on the ventilator. And just a miracle. Most people were dying all around me, and I survived that. Remember going to rehab for 3 weeks, couldn't move, again, at that time my brother Dave was up here from Florida running the business while we were in Kenya. So that happened. We got back in 19. This all happened in 20. So I'm still, after 2 years, I'm still maybe needing a break here soon. I need to maybe take a little nap or something. But get tired real easy. It attacked my lungs. It attacked my whole body. I was totally demobilized. Went to rehab in December that year or in November, and never found out when I got there. I could not move nothing. I couldn't even lift up my cell phone. And no visitors. If those of you that know about the COVID era, I couldn't have any family visitors. My wife came in to see me finally. Probably has helped me save my life, and I know God was in that, but I didn't
mentally taxing. Mentally as well as
and I was looking this morning even online I'm getting ready for that service Sunday, and I'm thinking about what the world says about trauma and death experiences, and it does something to your whole being. And that's what it did to me. It changed my life. But remember my wife coming in. I thought she was just a nurse. I never even knew my wife. Didn't know I had children. My wife was telling me that she had taken donuts to my boys. And at work, and she came to see me. And I was like, my boys, are they working at the Columbus airport? And in my mind, I had an airport. And I had totally lost all sense of family. I didn't know anybody.
We fought pretty hard to get our mom in there because, with the COVID status and with them not letting anybody visitors. Well, you know how isolation works, especially with mental health and regaining consciousness. It can be very vital and dangerous if you don't have family there to rekindle that. So we did take extended measures, but we did get Mom in there for almost all of the day for the last week. And I will just say he is a walking miracle. He's living W for me. He's my hero. He's the one that
I know that
walks in front of us.
And I wanted to get that story on here. Does that talk about Sheds? I don't know, but at the end of the day, Sheds is about people. And the one thing I took away from visiting you guys' company, both previously and then our talk last night and today, is how much admiration you boys have for your father. It's obvious to an outside entity that he's your hero, and it's obvious that for him, he pours his everything into you guys, and you're the next generation of Shed. Like, this business that you're in, whether it's coffee or Sheds or whatever, he's poured that into you, and he's able to see the fruits of that labor through your efforts, through your prayer life, through your commitment to God. And all of that stuff is really cool. Sometimes I think we're doing a podcast about missions, and sometimes I think we're doing one about, just speaking about the goodness of God. And I'm thankful that we're in an industry that allows, and supports that. We kind of talked about all the negative aspects that exist too, and if we give too much power to that, it'll overtake the good. And I think it's good to just continue to promote the good and the things that we do see working out, because being in this fallen world is already challenging enough. Fussing and fighting with each other and everything else just makes it that much harder.
Yeah.
So.
And one thing I would like to add here is, like Wayne said, Dad, we look up to our dad. We love our dad.
I can tell.
I'd like to say we have the best dad in the world, but he does have a special gift with people. So there was a situation with a worker at the company one day, and Dad is a people person, so he took the opportunity, went and talked with the worker, and at the end of the meeting, the worker was willing to work for less and still work for us and wanted to do what needed to be done. So I just called Dad. After the meeting, we were kind of recapping it and everything. I told Dad, you know what? You're a legend. So
he knows. He just knows how to make people his friend. And hinging on that, I know there's a Shed podcast. Imagine being 50 years old. You're in the hospital for 3 or 4 weeks. You're 50 years old and you have to relearn how to walk. Imagine. So we know he has a purpose in life, and the Lord had a plan for all of us. And even if it would have went the other way, I trust that we could have made things work out, but I thank the Lord every day that we have an example to hinge off of.
I think that says a lot about your company. I was going to ask the other question, what your company philosophy was to your customer, but I think what we just discussed, I think sums up perfectly that. And Gerold, you have a sense of humor that I appreciate. That's one of my favorite things about you. I almost want to tell the story last night. I don't know if we should, or if we're able to tell the story about Y2K. About how that came together. But I would really like to get that on here if you'd be willing.
Well, I'm not sure that I remember that whole story.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
I know you got a better memory than that. So.
Well, I think I was talking to Shannon and his wife when they got married and found out it was in the year 2000.
Yeah.
Right? So I said, well, they were Y2K, which our boys don't know what we're talking about when we talk about Y2K.
I wasn't born yet.
And I think the twins were born in 97, so that was right up to
models.
that point. And, I remember I lived over in Adams County in Wheat Ridge and drove a horse and buggy and smiling and waving at my neighbor and driving around and just thinking I had the world by the tail. And I remember we had the bakery and the furniture store back then over on Wheat Ridge. And And this Y2K thing came up, and there was a TV company that wanted to interview some of the Amish about Y2K. And naturally, we didn't want them to take our picture or anything, or just video part of us, or however that all was. But I remember I was kind of more of a comedian back then than I am now, probably. But I remember they wanted to. Somebody had told them that they need to interview me, so they did. And they wanted to know what my thought was on Y2K night. And I always thought, later I found out that in the world, that back in Africa and those places, they already had Y2K before we did, because it was the hour change, the time change. I remember when Trump became president, I knew it in Africa before my brothers knew it in America. And they didn't like that idea, because our time we're ahead of this. We're 8 hours different than Ohio time. Anyway, so I was sitting there on my porch, and I told him I was sitting there on my little porch, and my wife was in the bedroom, and she was going to sleep. And I said, I'm going to watch this Y2K come in. And I figured that we didn't have electric, but I figured everything's going to shut down. I knew my horse was still running, and my buggy was probably going to go, but I figured everything else was going to go. And I remember I sometimes at night I would blow off fireworks or my shotgun or something, and I remember I told these guys that night I was sitting on my porch with my shotgun. And here it comes up to the timing, right up to midnight, Y2K, here it is. And nothing happened. And I look over at my neighbor, and he had a light pole. And I told the TV crew that I just took my shotgun, took careful aim, and blew out his light pole. and they thought that was so funny, which it really never happened, but that was a story I guess I explain, but I guess that's what Shannon got a charge of.
Yeah, had to get that final light just in case Y2K hadn't done its job.
Everything right after that, everything went dark.
Yeah. Well, your sense of humor it's infectious. It's appreciative, and I said last night, and I'll say it again to those listeners who've hung around long enough to listen to this. We appreciate that. Yeah. That last night's podcast, sitting around the table and eating food, was way better than even today, as much as I enjoyed it, because those are just moments of relationship and community that happen on different levels. And I want to do more of that. So as long as God allows that, I will.
Could I add one thing?
Yeah, absolutely. No, sir, you can't say a thing. No, go ahead. I'm just kidding.
I'll make it quick. Just wanted to add that I would like to the listeners that are still listening to this, I would like to encourage you guys that, kind of getting back to the question you asked me originally about how I see the future of the company, how the industry, what's going to happen. I think it's going to be steady. It's hard to predict the future of the industry, but I think it's going to be steady. We're going to be seeing a lot of people focusing on what makes their company different than anybody else. We're going to see greenhouses, chicken coops, dog kennels being sold. People are going to go into a variety of stuff to try to attract customers. So I think we're going to see a lot of that in the future. I think the industry will stay steady. It is kind of a little bit of a downtime, so we might be seeing smaller companies not make it. But I think that there's so much stuff you can do in the industry.
There is. There really is.
That would be my encouragement. Is I think to everybody that can hang in there, I think it's going to get better from here on out. So
variety of design. Stay ahead of the design. Make sure you have a new idea on the block. There's always different avenues you can choose on designing. And
it just comes even down to the location. So I think it's definitely encouraging to know for the listeners out there that I don't think we're going to have anything like Y2K happening anytime soon. So I think to be positive, be motivated, get out there, make it happen, and I think your company will do well.
I couldn't agree more. The diversity and new stuff that's coming out, but then the stuff that you can sell beyond just sheds, play sets, and accessory buildings and coops and all these different things. It's just it's making the shed industry even bigger than what it is. So, Gerold, we like to pray on the podcast. Would you want to just pray over the industry and just kind of that God would keep his hand over all of us as we move forward and move forward in this year, and the sales and delivery, the hauling process, a dangerous job in its own right, and just if you would, sir.
Yeah. Let's pray. Lord, we just thank you for this time, this moment. Thank you for this day. We just pray that, Lord, as you look down upon us, each one of us, you've made us. You have made us in your image. And, Lord, we love you today. We just cherish this time of Shannon and his wife traveling through, and give them safety. Be with them. Cover them by your blood. Be with us as a business, wherever you take us, wherever you lead us. Lord, that we could, as you open doors in the building, rent-to-own, coffee companies that are out there, wherever you open doors that we could walk through, wherever you close them, that we could change our direction. Lord, we trust you in that. We trust you that you are the maker. You're the author and the finisher of everything. You've made the creation, and you called it wonderful. And Lord, today we live here. We thank you. We ask your blessing to be upon each one that is listening, each person that is maybe struggling with their business and their buildings and their whatever they're facing. Lord, I just ask that you would touch them, and that you would have this generation, have this business in this time of our era and our life, that you could be with us. Guide us and lead us with your Holy Spirit. We just pray your blessing upon each one of us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Appreciate you guys today. It's been a blast.